All right. Okay. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you're joining in from. You're welcome to HSE Live. We are actually live on Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn. And today we have another interesting episode. All right. All right, so basically what we're going to do today is the fact that we are going to customize another template, right? So there's another opportunity for us to do some customization one more time, right? So let's give ourselves a round of applause. We're going to do customization, and that is actually the fun part of this whole thing, right? So the customization is where we throw more light into our templates and how we are actually, adapting them to users' requirements. Okay, so today's episode, we're basically going to simplify our template, right? We're going to simplify the template, and we're going to also learn how to create additional KPIs. Now, this is a special request from our user, and basically we're presented with a set of, templates that we are supposed to adapt. So I'll probably just, show you some of how these templates have been built so that we understand, what we're going to be doing with our template, right? So without wasting time, I'm just gonna, quickly share, my presentation or my slide, okay? So that we can understand exactly what you're trying to do here. All right, so basically we have this set of indicators, right? So we have the leading indicators, we have the lagging indicators, we are supposed to account for man hours. All right, both the client and then the contractor, and then combination of the two, right? So a total of the man hours, we're going to be doing that. We're also supposed to be accounting for the incident free days, right? So we're going to be inserting calculation for incident free days, and then also we're going to be making sure that there's calculation for the incident rates, and that is actually going to be based on the 1 million standard base rates, right? So there are instances where we could actually use 200,000 base rates for estimating incident rates, or we could actually use the 1 million, right? So usually 1 million is when you have a large, a very large workforce, right? You have a lot of workers, and for that reason, your man hours is going to be a lot of figures, right? And for that reason, you would need a base rate like 1 million to be able to normalize it. All right, so that's pretty much what we're going to be doing today. We're going to look at how to integrate these KPIs into the template for both leading and lagging indicators. And we're going to account for man hours, incident rates, incident free days. Okay, so let's try to understand exactly what the original template looks like, so that we can be able to put some context to it. Okay, so I'll just share my screen right away. All right, so basically the template that we were given, I'll just share that. I'm not going to be sharing too much information. So the company logo has been removed and everything, right? So confidentiality is very, very important when it comes to what we do. So we're just going to look at one template, right? So this very template here is for estimating, incident rate. Basically, they're estimating the lost time injury frequency rate. And this is actually on a separate sheet, right? And there's no calculation in there to actually estimate that. So what it means is that they are manually entering these values. So they have maybe another template somewhere that they use for the calculation, and then they input it here to estimate the graph. I mean, sometimes you can go that tangent just to keep things simple. Things that work for you, you're able to adopt a model like this. But the challenge is that this is on a separate worksheet, right? So we're going to look at the other templates also. And with this very one, all right, so this also has to do with the fact that they are tracking some, lagging indicators and some leading indicators, and it has been organized like this, right? So we're going to replicate same in our model and make equally arranged like this. And we're going to do something very interesting, right? So we're going to be looking at that. So we are trying to make sure that we adapt this template to ours, but we need to make sure that we retain we need to make sure that we have retained the how, in fact, the information that they are trying to gather from this template. We want to make sure that they do not lose sight of it. All right. So I think that that's pretty much exactly what they are trying to track. So the rest are just all right. So this is something I put on a Word document so that I could simply copy and paste it in our sheet, right? So without wasting time, I'm just gonna get right into it. Okay, so what we are going to do here is that we are going to simplify our template. So this is actually an opportunity for people to learn how to simplify the templates, including how to create more KPIs. So we want to create room for them to create more KPIs. And for that reason, we want to demonstrate how we do that. All right. So we're going to demonstrate how to create KPIs, how to make it very, very fast without having to really go through the hassle of, creating another pivot table and, all of this stuff. So there's actually a shortcut to that. So without wasting time, I'm just going to head straight onto our template. All right. So let's go back to the screen. All right. So I'm going to open our template right here. All right. So this is exactly what we're going to do. We're going to simplify this very template. All right. So take note that sometimes it's good that you keep things simple, right? And simplifying the template simply means that your scope of work is not as big as it is as other type of workplaces, and for that reason, you just want to stick to what is relevant for your organization. So it's really important that we keep it simple, and that's exactly what we're going to be doing here, right? So to really do that, take note that we are going to unprotect, the worksheet, the workbook. We're going to unprotect a number of sheets, and we're going to start, organizing the structure of the template to make sure that they are easy to, create those reports. We're going to delete some sheets within the workbook and all of this stuff, right? So the first thing we're going to do is that we're going to grab the password. Now take note that all our template, the password is right here. All right. So we're going to go to the review tab. Now, if you are, okay, let me get rid of this banner because the banner is distracting us, right? So let me just get rid of it. All right, so let me get rid of this, right, so that we can see clearly. So I'm going to go make the screen very big so that we can actually see it clearly. And then I'll try to zoom in as well so that we really get to see everything that I'm doing, right? So we're going to grab the password right here. Now, when it comes to unprotecting worksheets, you need to make sure that you are on the active sheet. Now, you can protect every sheet, as far as you are on the sheet. So when you protect this sheet, that is specific to this sheet. So if you want to unprotect this, you need to make sure that you're on this very sheet. Okay. So to do that, we go to the review tab. Now take note that the review tab is right here. That is the Excel ribbon, right? So you come to the review tab, you come over here, and then you click on unprotect sheets. Okay. Now we have the password, right? So you can actually take your time and then write the password somewhere, or if you can actually memorize it, that is also good. But the password is based on a method, right? There's a method to what we do. So it is Shexel PMTMV. That is Shexel Performance Monitoring Tool Manager version, right? So I'm just going to go ahead and enter that right in here. All right. So once we've unprotected the sheet, take note that gives us access for us to move things around. So what it means is that I can comfortably delete this because I'm going to replace it with a logo, right, of the company. I could equally delete this, right? So when you unprotect the sheets, what it means is that you are giving room for people to make changes. So we could actually change this to the name of the company and all of that. Okay. So that is something we're going to be doing that later on, and probably when I'm done with this. So I'm just going to grab the password right here and I'll hit Control-C, right? I'm just going to copy it and then I would unprotect the workbook. Now take note, the workbook and the worksheet are different things, right? If you protect worksheet, you are actually trying to control the sheet. If you want to unprotect the workbook, that means that you want to be able to create additional sheets, rename a sheet, or hide a sheet, right? So take note that I've not unprotected it. So what I'm going to do is that if I try to create another sheet, you notice it has been blanked out, right? It's not possible. I cannot also hide sheet. All of these have been grayed out, all right? So basically what I'm going to do is that I'm going to click on protect workbook, and I'm going to enter the password. Now take note that I've already done Control C, so I'm just going to hit it right there, and then I've unprotected the workbook. Okay, now that gives me opportunity to create additional sheets, hide sheet, and all of that. Okay, so I'm just going to continue to unprotect the the worksheet. I'm going to unprotect this one. I'm going to unprotect this one as well. I mean, I'll just want to make sure that every sheet within the workbook has been unprotected, because I'm likely going to tamper with it. All right, so I'm going to do this for this one as well. I'm going to do this for this as well, because we want to delete as many KPIs as possible. I'll get rid of this as well. And I'm going to get rid of this also. I'll unprotect. So I've managed to unprotect all the relevant sheets within the workbook. So there's no other sheet. Okay, there's one last one here. Let me unprotect it. All right, so basically we've unprotected the sheet. So what it does is that it makes this sheet very vulnerable, right? So the sheet is vulnerable. Anybody can make changes. And the reason is that we are trying to do customization. So that is pretty much it that we're trying to customize. But if you're using this template, you want to make sure that all of these sheets are protected, right? So you can actually protect the sheet without the password. All right, so we can protect the sheet like this, but this time around, there's no password. So what it means is that you can set your own password if you are protecting the sheet. So the password that is here is no more relevant. Okay, so we can actually delete it because we don't need it anymore. And I could put a different password in there. But for the purpose of remembering the password that you've used, you want to make sure that you save it somewhere. And that's the reason why you keep the password right in here. All right, so once we have, got unprotected the sheet, I have to unprotect this one, right? Once we have done that, the next important step to take is to make sure that we look at the structure of the database. Now, the database, basically, we have the target, we have this, actual. So we are looking at these KPIs. Now let's go back to look at the KPIs again, once again, right? Okay, I don't want to be moving across sheets. So to make it simple, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to create another sheet, right? So I create another sheet just to make it simple for myself. And then I would grab the Word document that I created just to make sure that I'm able to copy all of this and paste it in my sheet. At least it's better to stick within the same sheet, right? I don't want to be moving around. All right, so I'm just going to click on this and I'm going to paste it right here. So at least I know what I'm about to change. Okay, so I could just simply move it right here so that I can look at it clearly as I'm changing them. Okay, so we are going to stick to the lagging indicators. These are the lagging indicators, right? So fatality, lost time injury, medical treated injury, first aid injury, total recordable injury, property damage, and high potential incident, right? So I come in here and then I would try to start changing all of them, right? So I'm going to change all of them. So how many are they? Let's go and count. There are a total of 7, right? So that means that over here, I need just 7 columns for the lagging indicators. Okay, so I can comfortably delete this. We don't need environmental spill. We don't need theft incidents. We don't need fire incidents. There's nothing on, motor vehicles. So I'm going to delete that as well. And then let's see, we need 7, space, basically 7 columns for that. So I'm going to delete the last one. So which one can I delete, right? So let's go back and check. Fatality, lost time injury, and, property damage, high potential incident. So at least we have fatality in there. So I'll just, select it. I could paste everything over, right? But I just want to make sure I'm accounting for each one of them because I don't want to miss anything, right? So I'll just, do it one at a time so that I don't forget which one, I don't miss anything. Okay. All right. And also, I want to make sure that I stick within the terminologies, the same terminologies. I don't want to assume anything. So I'm just going to copy everything that they've sent to me without assuming anything. Total recordable injuries. Okay, this is the same as ours. All right, so they don't have near miss in there. So near miss is actually a leading indicator. So we put high potential incident here. So I think that the last one has to do with first aid injury, right? All right, so we have first aid injury, medical treatment, treated injury, lost time injury, restricted work case. So let's see the terminology for restricted work case. Okay, so they don't have restricted work case in here. All right, so we're going to delete that as well. All right, so basically we have these 7 lagging indicators in here, but take note that we are having a ref error, hash ref error here, simply because we deleted one of the items, right? So basically, when it comes to total recordable injuries, we are looking at the sum of fatality, lost time injury, and medical treatment case or medical treated case. We could include restricted work case, but we are not tracking restricted work case. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of where the hash ref error is coming from, right? So Excel would have identified that for us, that there's an error in here, in the sense that the reference cell is no more in the is no more available. So we're going to get rid of it, and then we fix it. All right, so fixing it, we want to make sure that everything is correct. So I can just look at it from the formula bar, and then I'll make sure that everything is properly aligned. All right, so basically I just have to replicate the calculation all throughout, the cells. Okay, so I've been able to correct it. I put the formula in there, and it goes all the way down. Okay, so that is for the lagging indicators. Now we're going to move on to the leading indicators. Now take note that the leading indicators, they're not many. They're just about 5 of them, right? So hazard reported, near miss recorded, and all of this stuff. Okay, so what I'm going to do is that I'm going to get rid of a lot of these KPIs, right? So we don't need anything on road transport indicators. We don't need anything on environmental indicators. And then I'll just have to basically reduce the scope of this report. So I'm going to continue also. I'll just keep deleting as many as I can. So we are not doing anything like replacements in kind and things like that. We are literally changing all the KPIs, and we input a new set of KPIs, right? So I'm going to be showing you how to create your own KPIs after we are done. So currently what it looks like is that we are pre-building the template, right? So we are building the template for the user. Okay, so we have 6. How many were there? All right, there are 5, right? So what I can do is that I can just do Control-C, and I'll just paste and transpose, right? I can paste, transpose. I pick the formatting here, right over it, and I can delete this one. Okay, so now we've been able to reduce the scope of this report. Now we need to make sure that we are accounting for man hours for both the client and then the contractor. That's how they prefer. They want to account for man hours for both client and contractor, right? So in order to do that, so I'm going to, even this one, I'm going to just rename it. Instead of average number of workers, I'm just going to call it number of staff. But I'm going to make sure that we are accounting for staff for both company and contractor, because we are going to use a formula for estimating that. So number of personnel into bracket company. Once I'm done, I'm going to be shifting some of these calculations to the last page, right? So the number of personnel for company and number of personnel for contractor, so that we sum it up to get the number of personnel for all the, combined, right? So basically we are looking for contractor, and then I'm going to insert another row, another column, and I'm going to do number of personnel, and that is everyone, right? All right, so we can just probably say that is the same number of people here. So that the number of personnel will be a sum function, right? So instead of using, the column header as a reference, I'm going to be using the cell labels, right? So it's going to be C3. So we put in the sum function, we put in the brackets, we type in C3 colon D3, right? So that is the range in here, and I hit enter. So now we've introduced a calculation in here. Now this calculation, we want to make sure that we identify it. So I'm going to change the color, right? And if I'm going to leave it right here, what it means is I need to make sure that this cell is logged always, because wherever there's calculation, there's potential for people to mess it up. So I'm going to lock it to make sure that once I have the sheet protected, nobody can access it, right? So I have, and let me just put combine, because we want to make sure that we are qualifying it properly. So let me just put into bracket combine, right? All right, so we have number of personnel for company, number of personnel for contractor. Later on, we can agree on the terminologies. Maybe I may just put the company name in here, but for the purpose of data protection, we are not mentioning the company, right? So this section is accounting for personnel. Now, how do we estimate man days? So man days equally is something that is very, very important, that we account for man days for both contractor and personnel. So this section is going to be a sum of the man days. Now take note that man days is basically the number of workers who have reported for the day and their inputs for the day, basically. So each person's man day cumulatively is the man days, is a man day. All right, so the man day for the very day is the number of staff multiplied by the working day. So if you're doing a cumulative count of every single day, because this is a monthly entry, right? So how many months do we have? How many days do we have in a month? We have 21 days in a month. That means I go to work Monday to Friday. Some days, or maybe 20 days, or probably 30 days. It depends. So that 30 days multiplied by the number of workers gives us the man days. The man days worked. Okay. So I'm just gonna enter this as well. Man days. So man days worked for company. So all of this are gonna be based on formulas, right? So we're gonna put formula in there. So these things is not gonna confuse anyone. We are making sure that the logic is correct, right? So man days worked for company, man days worked, for the contractor. All right, so here is gonna be sum, right? So what is man days? Man days is basically the company number of personnel here. So that's C3 multiplied by working days, right? So the working days F3. So that's the man days worked. And then we're gonna have this one as well. That's D3 and F3, right? So we have that in there. So we can just basically make sure that we identify that there's a formula in there. We don't want anybody to tamper with it. So I'm gonna protect the sheet. And that's how we design out potential for human error. So if a sheet is protected, it's for a reason. It's not that we don't want you to make any entry in there. We want to make sure that the template is functioning as intended, right? So we're going to put in the sum function in here, because now we are summing up both man days for both contractor and company, right? So G3, sum function. So G3, the colon, and H3. We could just use a plus sign as well, but we don't want to do that. All right, so we've done this. So this actually is the total man days, right? So we can equally put we can qualify it properly, combined, because we don't want people to be confused as combined. So we can actually have a report where we have the man days for contractor, man days for company, and we have man days combined, right? Now we are going to look at man hours worked. Again, the same analogy. Man hours worked. We're going to look at man hours worked for contractor, man hours worked for the company, right? And then we have the total man hours worked for both of them, right? And take note that all of these are calculations. So what they're going to be entering is just the number of workers who come to work and the number of workers, the man days worked, right? So that is basically what we are doing. We want to keep it simple. So when they are making the entry, it's very, very simple, right? Okay, so we're going to go in here to start tracking man days worked, right? So man days man days worked, and we are going to talk about that of the contractor, right? So contractor. All right, and then we're going to do the same, and this time around that is company, right? So basically, when it comes to building this kind of stuff, we need to understand the logic of it. That's why it is important that whoever is creating this is a safety professional and understands, all of these stuff. So somebody who is doing template for financial models cannot be doing template for health and safety, right? So we need to make sure that we are using the right, expertise for the job, and that is why we are here to support. All right, so man hours worked. So what will be the man hours worked? Now take note that we are okay. So there's a twist here that I need to draw your attention to. So now that we have the man days worked, all we need to do is to multiply it by the working hours. The working hours, what is the standard working hours for your company? You work 8 hours a day, right? So we're going to multiply 8 hours by the man days work, and we're going to get man hours work. As simple as that. But then how do we do that? So we're going to find out. So basically here is for tracking sites, right? So each site basically tracks, is basically having its own working hours. So that's the logic of our template, that we can build a list of sites here, and we're going to have the working hours for it. So maybe we'll keep it simple by keeping it for just one company, but the template is designed for 10 sites. We can insert additional, basically rows to extend the table all the way down to accommodate more sites. So if you have about 15 sites, all you need to do is just insert all the rows within it. All right, and you can have the last site in there just to test, right? So if I have additional entries, right, up to 19, we've even made it 19, right? So you can insert additional rows to make it as many, to accommodate as many sites as possible. And what it means is that if you come here and select from the drop down list, you can go all the way down to the last entry, right? So basically what we are doing is that we're going to use a formula to make sure that we are referencing this very name. Whenever we select this name, the working hours should be provided, and that should multiply this, right? But then we don't have time to create a helper column. So what we're going to do is that we're going to say that if we're going to use an if function. So let's break it down, right? So we're going to say if all right, so if A3, that's reference cell, right? Then we go in here. No, not if function. We're going to use a VLOOKUP. All right, so we're going to use a VLOOKUP, right? I forgot. So basically VLOOKUP function, right? We are going to look up the value here. So the lookup value is A3, right? And then the table reference is this one. So we're going to pick the table reference, and then we're going to select the second column. So the second column is basically where the value is, and that is 2. And then we want an absolute match, right? An exact match. So that's what we have there. If we select this company, we see that it changes, right? So basically once we select this site, the working hours changes. Okay. All right. So what we're going to do is that we've been able to introduce a function that is able to pick the working hours from this table, the approved list. So what we're going to do is that we're going to copy the same formula right in there. All right. We're going to make sure that we add another function to it. And that function is going to be the fact that it should multiply by the contractor, right? The contractor's man days worked. So where's the contractor's man days worked? That'll be this one, right? So that'll be G3. All right, so I'm just gonna make sure that I there's no repetition or anything here. Let's try to do that again. All right, so let's start with the reference cell, which is G3 multiplied by another function, which is a VLOOKUP function. All right, so we are referencing A3. And then we go in there to pick the figure here. And we want the second column, exact match. All right, so there we have it. We did it. So basically, we just want to make sure that we are not rushing it. Okay, so what I did was that I started with the, the first reference cell. All right, so if I go in there, basically this one multiplied by the VLOOKUP function to pick up the value for this, right? So let's try to go back and see how we did it, right? So if I get rid of the G3, which is this one to calculate, right? If I get rid of it, right, I have the figure, right? I have if I select the working hours, it changes, right? But then I had to make sure that the other one was right in front of it. And then it updates, right? So that's pretty much it. So we're going to do the same thing for this, right? So we are trying to multiply the man days work by the working hours, right? So let's start with the man days work, right? So that's H3. And then we use the equal sign. And then we put into brackets, right? And we use the VLOOKUP function to pick this value, which is A3. And we go to the, the table, right? And then we want the second column, and then we want exact match. So that's, okay, what's going on? Okay, instead of 0, I put O rather, right? Okay, so that has been fixed. So what I'm going to do now is that I'm going to sum the combine, right? And then with the combine is J3 and K3. Okay, so that's basically what I've just done. So this one is basically the fact that we are trying to multiply this by the working hours based on this, right? So that's the essence of the VLOOKUP function, just to pick the value for the working hours for this company, right? What it means is that if this changes to this, it's going to update, right? So just have a look at it here. So if it changes to Matfield, it's going to change as well. But the thing is that all of them are the same. All the figures are the same. So Matfield is 87. This one is, basically 97. Okay, let's see. So we've done the summation. Now all we're going to do is that we're going to get rid of these, the errors we're having here. Not really error, is not available. If it's not available, we can say that if any, if not available, put blank in there. So that's what we've done here, just to clear all this stuff. If not available, put blank in there. All right, so that's pretty much what we've done. Okay, so if you want to quality check this, we just have to make sure that we are checking one by one, right? So take note that all of these are the same. The mandates for the number of workers, for contractor, for company, they're all the same. That sums up to this. And then this multiplied by the working days is giving us the man days worked. All right, but we did not do this by this. We didn't actually calculate by this, but we tried to account for each of the man days worked for both contractor and company. We summed it up and we did the man hours worked. So this section is calculation, and that's where we're going to be hiding it for the person. So we have been able to account for man hours worked for both company and contractor, and we have the combined man hours worked, and we can equally say that we've equally accounted for man days worked, because we're going to be accounting for man hours lost from LTI, right? So the interesting thing is that man hours lost from LTI is not according to company and contractor. Let's have a look. Man hours worked, man hours worked for other contractors, and then we have lost time injury. Okay, so we don't have man hours lost from LTI for both contractor and site. We don't have that, so basically it's combined. So that's basically the opportunity for us to keep going, because there's no extra layer of complexity to it. So we're going to be hiding all of these. Okay, so we've been able to sort of simplify it. So I'm just going to unhide this. So this section is all calculations that are looking at, calculations for estimating incident rate. So we have all the calculations here for estimating incident rate. But the thing is that we are still tracking lost time injury frequency rate. We're still going to be tracking total recordable incident injury rate. So all of these calculations are still relevant, right? So there's one hash ref error here, and that has to do with the fact that we are not accounting for distance traveled in miles. So there's nothing on motor vehicle incident. All of these are motor vehicle incidents, right? So motor vehicle incidents, we are not tracking it, so we can comfortably delete this calculation. We are also not tracking cumulative incidents, cumulative vehicle moving averages for vehicles, standard factor for motor vehicle incident. All of these stuff, we are not tracking them. So I'm just going to delete all of these. I'm going to delete this because we don't need them. Okay, so I've tried to get rid of all the stuff we don't need, but take note that there's a target. So the interesting thing about our template is that there's a strategy around the fact that we'll be able to compare actual against targets. We bring some of the targets in here from the target source data. Okay, so that once you input your data and it goes onto this very sheet, we try to pull some of the targets in here so that all is within the same Excel table. This is the same Excel table that comprises the actual and then the targets, right? So that on one report, like the various target reports, we could compare target and actual because they're all taking their source from the same pivot table. This is quite different if you're trying to compare the report from different source data and another source data. When it happens like that, you're not able to control all of them with one slicer. So at least to some extent, we are trying to control actual against target with one slicer. Okay, so that's the reason why we did it like that. Now, after we are done with this, basically we've been able to introduce some of the KPIs, all the KPIs in there, but we are going to be shifting all of this once we are done. So I'm just going to go straight to, continue to simplify that of the target. So the target, we are going to basically start from here. Or let's see what we can do. We can get rid of all of, okay, we're not going to remove incident rate because we're going to be tracking them as well. So I'll just remove the motor vehicle. I'll remove the motor vehicle because we don't have motor vehicle. Total recordable incident, we are tracking that. So I'm just going to look at the rest. It's going to be this up to this. So I'll just come back to target source and then I would insert, I'll paste it in here. So I've pasted that in there. I'll just, retain the same format of the column headers, and I'm going to delete these ones, right? So I've brought the lagging indicators here, and then the leading the incident rate is still here. Okay, so what I'm going to do next is that I'm going to reduce all of these stuff. So I'll just try to reduce because we only need 5 space for the targets, right? Sorry, the leading indicators, there are only 5 of them. So I'll just come here and I'll just make room for 5 entries, and that's up to here. So I just take my time and delete all of this. All right, so once I have that deleted, I'll just go in here, Control C, I come here and I paste, and that's it right there, right? So we've been able to introduce the leading indicators for the target side of things. All right, so I can just expand it so that it looks well organized, well spaced out. All right, so this section is for the, and then this section is for the incident rate. So I'm just gonna make room for more space so that they can enter a lot of data in there. All right, so now that we have this, addressed, that means that we've simplified this very sheet. We've simplified this very sheet. Okay, so later on, once I'm done, I'm gonna be shifting all these calculations to the end. But take note that there's something we are supposed to be doing now. We're supposed to get rid of some of these targets because these targets are playing a role in our chart, which I'll be showing you. If I go all the way to, for example, toolbox stock, you notice that if I open the pivot table field list, to open pivot table field list, just right click, go to show field list. If you come all the way down, you see that all the targets are here. So all of these targets, we intentionally put them within the same source data. That is the actual source data, to just make sure that we're able to select it. So all of these are referencing another sheet, which is taking a source from the target source data. That's pretty much it. All right, so I'm just going to show you now. Take note that if I want to know where is the source of this pivot table, all I need to just come to pivot table analyze, and I click on source. It brings me to here, right? So this is basically where the source is coming from. So I'll just go back to the actual source data. All right, and then I'll begin to simplify the whole thing, right? So I'll just make sure that I'm keeping only 5 of them. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's the 5 for leading indicators. So I'm going to delete all of these ones. All right, so just 5 of them. Okay, let me just bring one. One is actually a helper column, right? So just 5, right? So, or that's 6. So let me still delete. So I'm going to delete right away. Okay, I didn't delete. Okay, so we have 5, right? 5 of them. So that's what. So this is what we are going to do. We are coming here to simplify this one as well. So we are only accounting for 5. All right, all the rest are not relevant. Same with the lagging indicators. Lagging indicators, how many are they? They are actually 6. Okay, so there are how many? 7. Okay, there are 7 in number, right? So 7 in number means that we will need 7 space here, right? Okay, so that's 7 here and 5 there. And then incident rate is there, right? So strategically, to delete this, you cannot use the row ID. You cannot click on the row, or else you end up deleting this one. So we just want to take our time. So what we're going to do is that we're going to unmerge. So some of the cells have been merged. This one has been merged. So we're going to unmerge all of these ones. And then we can take our time to delete, right? So that's just delete one at a time, one after the other. Because if you don't take time, it's going to just move it across, and this one is going to shift to this side. So we want to make sure that we select the row within the range that we want to delete, and pretty much we delete everything. Okay, so we just delete this. You see what happened? It shifted this one here. So there's something going on wrong, but I just want to make sure that I address it later on. So I'm just going to merge here as well. Sorry, unmerge, and I'm going to delete I need just 7 rows, right? So I'm going to delete this one as well. In fact, let me strategically insert space so that I can get rid of this. Whatever happens, we're going to get rid of it, right? Okay, so I've removed that. I can then continue. All right, so we have 8. We have 8. We need to get rid of the last one. So which one can we remove? Let's remove environmental spill. Okay, so basically we have this one here and this one here. So now we have a lot of space to actually expand our table to look bigger a little, because now there's more room to actually work around, right? Okay, so it can now look as big as this because there's more room to maneuver. Or let me just reduce it a little bit. So I'll just come here, select all of them, resize it. All right, so I think this is better, right? Okay, so now we want to make sure that everything that is merged, we're going to unmerge it. We can get rid of this. We're going to merge this one as well. Merge this. And then we're going to merge it like that because all of them have been merged, right? All of these are merged. So we're going to make sure they are consistent all throughout. We're going to do the same for this. All right, so we've merged these ones and that's pretty much it. Okay, so what is going to happen now is that we can go ahead and refresh the workbook and we know what to expect. All right, so when we refresh the workbook, we know what to expect. Things will just start to look, different href error all over, right? So we have some href error here. In fact, we have href error here as well. And take note that we don't even need motor vehicles. So I'll delete this one as well. So I'll get rid of this because we don't need it. All right, and I'll just merge this. Okay, so I could just go in there and give it a border because I think we use this one. Yeah, I put it back. Okay. All right, so now I'm supposed to fix all of this. Now the interesting thing is that there are not many KPIs, so I'm just going to move very fast. Now if I click on this, I'm going to find the source of this very formula. It is a reference cell which is coming from a particular sheet, right? So if I look in here, I see that it's toolbox stock, but take note, I'm not even done putting the other KPIs in here. So I'll just go, come here, select these ones, Control C, come here, and I'll just paste transpose, right? I need to transpose it. I'll just transpose it. Okay. All right, so that means that we even had extra one to delete, right? So I'm just going to delete that. Okay, so sometimes when you're trying to merge, you're trying to delete, it doesn't want to allow you, so you can unmerge and then get rid of it like this, right? All right, so I'll just now refresh the workbook. And then I'll go to, okay, so I'll do the same thing for the lag indicators. Control C, come here, paste transpose. All right, so I think that we've introduced those KPIs in here as well. Now what I'm going to do is that I'll just unhide one sheet that we have, which is the target KPI, right? So all I need to do is just make sure that I select all the new entries that we've introduced, which is hazard reports, hazard reported, near miss recorded, inspection. Okay, I need to keep on plan tax observation, inspection. I could select, keep going, right? So I'm selecting everything, including high potential incidents. I've selected all of them, right? They're all in here. So I just go in here, I hit the equal sign, and then I can select. So what exactly was there? Hazard reports, right? So let me just do it again, equal sign, hazard report. Hazard reported, near miss reported, inspections, planned tax observation conducted, inspections, all right, so that is in there. We're gonna go straight to the lag indicators, first aid case, first aid injury, medically treated injury, lost time injury, fatality, property damage, high potential incident, all right, so we are done with the leading side of things. These ones, we didn't change them. Sorry, the target, we are done with the target. So we go on to look at how to fix that of the actual. So on height, the objectives, indicators objectives, that's the actual. And then we open the pivot table field list. We check all the KPIs, right? All of them. All right, so we have it in there. At least these are the relevant ones. So we go to the objectives and target. And then we hit the equal sign for hazard reports. Near miss reported. So inspection reported. Or inspection conducted. Plan tax observation. And then inspection conducted. Wait. Audit conducted. That's audit. Okay, so that's audit. I need to make sure that I'm checking the right one. So this one is audit conducted. Inspection stroke audit conducted. And the other one is just inspections. Okay, that's this one. Okay, I think I should verify for this as well, just to make sure that we didn't miss anything, right? So that's inspections. No, that's this one. All right, so we've been able to fix it. We go on to the actual for the lagging indicators. First aid, and then medically treated injury, lost time injury, fatality, property damage, and then high potential incidents, all right, and recordable, total recordable. I think it's the same thing, right? Total recordable, they don't change. Total recordable 8, right? The same thing. All right, so we have that also addressed. Okay, so what it means is that we can put these slices in here. You can position wherever it's relevant. What it means is that we can actually select to see how far we are going. So we have another error here. That's basically the fact that we need to fix something. So I'll be looking at it to fix later on when we are progressing. Okay, so what I need to do next is that I'll just go to the, we want to make sure that the monthly report equally has some of the these KPIs in there, right? So I'll just go to monthly report template because we want to make sure that we keep it simple. Only 5 KPIs, right? So these 5 KPIs, I can just paste them here. I'll just delete these ones. Then I could probably just say, okay, for 5 KPIs, 2 here, 2 here, 1 there. I'll just delete these ones. So that's with this. We don't need anything on environment. For leading indicator, lagging indicators, we just have to make sure that we are tracking what they are equally tracking. So let's have a look. All right, so it's basically this. So we can just copy this, or instead of that, I could just come to objectives and target and use that one because that is already formatted. So I'll just copy 3 of them, Control C, and I could put also how many are they? They are just about 7 or so, right? So that's about 7. So what space can I allocate for it? So 3, 3, 1 or 2, 2, 1. So it's going to be 2, 2, 7. So 2, 2. Okay, so 3, 2, 2, right? 3, 2, 2. So I'm just going to copy. I'm going to copy 2 of them first. I'll paste here. I copy the other 2. And the last 2, or the last 3, right? So the last 3. All right, so what I could do is that I could bring this one here. Okay. All right, so what I'm going to do is that I'm just going to go into the month report indicators, right? So the month report indicators is basically what we use to connect to the month report, right? So let's come to month report. This one I can hide it. I can hide this one. I can hide the KPI target. And then I'll only have the month report indicators. So the month report indicators is right here. I open the pivot table field to now select all the KPIs, right? So I'm going to select both the lagging and then the leading indicators. All right, so that's pretty much it. And then all of them are showing sum of, so which is the fact that we are on track, right? So I'm just gonna go in here, fatality, I hit the equal sign, I come here, medically treated injury. So when we are done, I'm just gonna keep things very, very simple. I'll delete a lot of reports within the template. Total recordable injury, lost time injury, fatality, all right. Then we move on to property damage. High potential incident. All right, so we have this fixed. We move on to the all right, so I just want to make sure that the leading indicators are all correct. So I go back to the objectives and target because that's where I copied it. All right, so near miss recorded, hazard reported. So let me just look at it. All right, so near miss reported. All right, so hazard reported has shown twice. Maybe I didn't do it well, so I'll just go back and check. I'm supposed to enter inspections. So this section is for inspections. And this last one is for, the last item. So I'll get rid of this. So inspection stroke audit conducted. I'll just go in here and select inspection stroke audit conducted. And I have planned tax observation. And then I do that for the inspections as well. And then that's it. Okay, so we've sort of fixed the table, but we need to make sure that we are correcting this very one, the man days worked. Also, we have to correct it. So that's something I'm going to be doing that. Okay, so let me just make sure that everything is, so we are done with this. I'll just hide it. So now we go on to the statistics. I'm seeing #ref error for unsafe fact condition. In our actual source data, I need to make sure that this very sheet is deleted, this very column is deleted because it's not relevant. Once I refresh the workbook, I'm not going to see that anymore, right? So it's gone. So I'll just continue and then start to account for the statistics, right? So the statistics is a lot of parameters we're looking at. Refer to the template once again. All right, so we just select everything because we have everything in our template. So just make sure we select everything. So let's keep going. All right, so these are basically the parameters. And then we could look at man hours worked. For contractor, man hours worked. For company, we need to change it from count off to sum off. And we look at man hours worked combined, right? And then we look at man days worked. That is not needed because it wasn't part of the scope, but I just did a calculation. So we're going to look at number of personnel for company, number of personnel for contractor, number of personnel combined. Okay, so we have that in here. We want to make sure that nothing is in there showing as count of. It has to be sum of the items within the data, within the database, right? So we have the man hours worked, which is for contractor. Just bring it all the way up because we have it up here. The contractor, the company, and then combined, right? So the same thing here, contractor, company, and combined. Now take note that when you are having your pivot table like this, if you have your data showing like this, you can always get rid of the sum. So this sum, probably I should just get rid of them, right? So I can remove all of these sum off. I can remove each one of them. And when you are removing, you just have to enter a space right there so that it will be a unique entry, right? In there. Because if you try to get rid of everything here, it's going to tell you it's not possible, right? So you want to make sure that there's some space in there. So we use a space bar to just introduce a space, and then we get rid of all of these sum. So that's how we sort of clean up the data a little more, especially if the scope is not that big, because doing this thing can actually take a lot of effort, going across all the sheet to remove some off from the front of the KPIs. Okay, so we can just do that for this one because it's something that you're going to be looking at every time and they don't want to be looking at sum off, right? So you can do that in the template that you have. Just take your time to remove the sum off from there so that it looks clean. We did it on the light version of the template. So if you have grabbed the light version, you notice that the statistics, you don't see sum off. Even most of the reports, you don't see sum off. You've removed all of them. So with statistics like that, we can actually beautify it nicely, So we look at the report that they have, and we just do the same. We're gonna put some borders in the table, in the pivot table, right? We put some borders in there so that they look similar to what they have. All right, so we removed all the sum off from there. Let's go back and look at. So those are statistics, right? All right, so we can simplify it further. If they want us to get rid of all those other stuff, we can do that. But I think that we are introducing some sort of improvements. So we're going to maintain all of this, right? So the fatality, everything is here. All right, and then we want to group the man days lost, everything. So the man days lost from LTI, all the things related to man hours. It has to go all the way up. Okay, and then we have the leading indicators here. And then we have the lagging indicators here. So that's pretty much it. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to design it. Maybe I should just bring some borders in there. And I'll try to get rid of the fill. All right, so this is basically the statistics that we've done for them. So if you are looking at what they have here, you notice that they are looking at each month and they are counting for all these stuff. So that's what we've done, but except the fact that we introduced the number of personnel, company, contractor, number of personnel combined, number of workers, number of man hours worked, contractor, company combined, man days lost from LTI, man hours lost from LTI, man hours lost from LTI, right? And man hours worked without LTI. So we already have that in there. So we have been able to sort of work on this. So what we're going to do next is that we'll probably start to fix this one, right? So what we're going to do with this is that we need to go back and find each of the components of this dashboard. So this relates to lagging indicators. And this lagging indicators is coming from one of the reports. So we just go to the lagging indicator report, and then we notice that all the KPIs are no more in there, right? Except one. So we're gonna open the field list and we will select all the lagging indicators, right? So there are how many? There are about 7 of them. Okay, so total recordable case, we don't want to include that because that is like the sum of some of the entries in some of the items. So we don't want to, make it look like we are summing up, we are introducing, a larger, a bigger, KPI with the other ones. Meanwhile, it's a sum of those in there. So we just want to make sure that we are keeping those that can be compared with each other, right? So first aid, medical treatment, lost time, fatality, property damage, high potential, and that's it, right? So just these ones. How many are there? There are about 6 of them. So now we can actually see that if they have, it's comparable, right? As opposed to introducing total recordable case. So this one, basically when we go into the trend dashboard, we notice that it has started populating. All right, so it has started populating. Okay, and then the leading indicators, we need to go in there to the leading indicator report, and then we need to select all of them because we got rid of the other ones, right? So hazard reports, near miss, inspection, plan, observation, inspection. There are just about 5 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? Okay, so when we come to the objectives and target, we can say that there are about 5 of them. All right, so how many are they? There are 5. Okay, so on the leading indicators, we can actually, work on this pie chart. So to do that, we just click on it to go to format data series. Let's close this for now. And then we go to the 3D side, and then we can just try to adjust, right? You can enter 500 here. We can, increase the weight a little bit. And then we do for this one as well. And this one, we can just make it 100 and see how it looks. Okay, so I think that is not bad. Let's try to reduce a little. Maybe let's make it 50. All right, it looks like this. And if you like, you can, let it expand a little bit. You can give it some space. It can look something like this. So currently, toolbox talk. Now take note that all of these sum functions, you can get rid of them. All of these sum, if you don't want to see some in there, you can always remove them. Given that it's a very small scope, we can take our time to get rid of these stuff, right? If it were to be a lot of them, that's a lot of work. That's how come some of the template, we didn't really try to do that. Okay, so we've been able to clean it up a little. You can change the color if you want. If you want to change the color, just go to design, go to the, all of these stuff. There are options to change the colors, right? So let's just stick to what we have right now. And then let's keep on going. So right now we just have to keep how many reports? We need to keep just 5, and all the rest you can delete. So we're gonna keep this, and that, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we have just 5 reports. So I'm gonna just delete these ones. So I'm gonna delete this. I hit Control, I select, and then I delete, right? I can keep going, hit Control, select all of them like this, keep selecting, right click, and delete. Okay, so we need to keep going, right? Click Control, select, keep selecting all of them, right click, delete. All right, so we've gotten to the section on incident rates. We don't have motor vehicles. I'll just delete these ones. We don't have anything on motor vehicle. So we are actually moving very fast. All right, so I'll just come in here to check. All right, so basically we have our lagging indicators, lead indicators. This one, we're going to call it a name. So let me just bring those 5 KPIs in here. We're going to get rid of some of the dashboards as well. So we have just 5, right? So these are the 5 reports you want to present. So these 5 reports, we can just come here, paste it. You know, we just want to make sure that we see what we are doing, right? Let me just paste and transpose so that I could see. All right, so this one has a report to be for this. This one will be for that. This one will be for this. All right, and then we go in here, plant tax observation will be for this. And then this one will be for the other one. That's the last one. And then we get rid of this utility. Okay, so at least we have five of this report. Now what we need to do is that we are getting an hash ref errors in the target, because this target is coming from the actual source data, right? So let's go back to the actual source data. And we need to make sure that we are fixing all of these stuff, right? So we need to make sure that those KPIs are in here, right? So basically what I'm going to do is that these same KPIs, these are what we are trying to make sure these targets are within the same workbook, right? So, okay, it's easy to just move across. So I'll just Control C. Okay. And then I'll come here. I want target of hazard report. Hazard reported, target of hazards reported, target of near miss recorded. And then I come to target of inspection. All right. And then I come to target of planned tax observation or planned tax observation conducted, right? And then the last one, target of inspections. All right, so these targets are in here. These targets are actually, the reason why we decide to bring them here is that we want to make sure that they're all coming from the same table. Now take note that it is not user friendly to be entering data and be entering target, monthly target. Target should be set at the end of the beginning of the year or the year. So you cannot be making entries and every month you're setting targets. So somebody can argue that, okay, I want to be able to set targets every month. So that means that every time you make an entry, you are setting the targets and things like that. But it's just a matter of choice. If you want to do that, that is possible anyway, which means that it's going to be a lot of, you're going to have just one workbook like this, and as you make your entry, you are always entering targets. But you want to make sure that the target is actually something you set for the year, all right? So once you have introduced them in there, we need to make sure that we are bringing the targets into the actual source data, right? The figures. So take note that the targets are all in here. So what we are going to do is that we're going to make sure that we pick the figure here. So we hit the equal sign and go and pick this one. Take note that it's a merge cell, so you need to pick the very first reference. So hazard recorded, you do the same thing, equal sign, go to here, select, and then we do the same thing for this. Okay, so basically it's the same thing, nothing changed. So I think that's how come everything is already aligned. This 1,000, right? If you hit the equal sign, that's inspection conducted. Okay, actually it's different, right? So we need to make sure that we are matching them properly. But let me just make sure that I'm matching them properly, right? So this one is for target reports, hazard reported. This one is for near miss recorded. That's 84. So I jumped, right? So near miss recorded is 1,000. So these values, we're gonna, reduce them because the values are not relevant, right? They are not practical. Inspection. So inspection is 84, and then planned tax observation. Okay, we hit the equal sign, and that is 90. And then target of inspection is 110. So take note that these targets is what we have broken them down all the way as you are making your entries. Is literally dividing them by the number of entries you're making. So always, all of them, if you go to check, you notice that from January to December, it will always sum up to this. So we just use a function to sort of break them down. Okay, this one relates to motor vehicle incidents. I can delete. Okay, so if I refresh the workbook, now let's go back to the report. We're going to fix some of the reports now. So we go to, the near miss, which is a hazard reporter, which is the first. We refresh the workbook. So when I refresh the workbook, you notice that the pivot table quickly changes. Now we've introduced the target in there. So we have the target of hazard reported. We bring it here. We change it to sum off. And then we have the actual. Actual will be right there, which is the sum of hazard reported. Okay, so we make sure that there's no decimal anywhere. It's sum off. We change the number format. We bring it to no decimal. So that's pretty much it. If you select one company, now take note, what's the value for the target for hazard reported? If you go to the actual source data, the target source data, hazard reported. All right, so hazard reported is 50 for this company, right? That's 50 for the company. So we come to the hazard report to make sure that, but let's make sure that the parameters are correct. Okay, so we select everything 50. So it's 50 right there. So that's 50 here. And then we would go to the reports, hazard reports. Hazard reported. Okay, so basically what we need to check is that we need to make sure that it is 50, right? That's exactly the case. So it is 50 here. All right, so the problem we had is that the January was format filled. All right, so we want to make sure everything is consistent, right? So it's supposed to be check cell for January to December, mat fill for January to December. Okay, so when we come to when we refresh the workbook and we go back to the report, hazard reported. Okay, so it is there as 46. Okay. So I was actually looking at the wrong thing. So the sum, that's the target. The target is right here. So the target is supposed to come up. So that's the target right here. Take note, the target is summing up to 50, right? And then the actual is 23. So when we go in there, let's confirm the actual. So the actual for hazard report, if you sum it up for this company, that is 23. So that's 23, right? So that's exactly what we have there. that is 23. Okay, so that's basically the fact that we are quality checking as we are going, right? So you can see that everything is correct. So the target is 50, the actual is 23, but we did it in a manner that breaks it down every month. So every month you're looking at actual against target, and then we can down project and say, okay, we are doing well. Okay, so I'm gonna go in there and fix all of these ones. So I'll select the actual first, and then or the target first, whichever one, right? So we are currently at near miss reported. So some of near miss reported, and I come to target of near miss recorded, and then I make sure that the target is above it, because we're gonna make sure that we design the dashboard such that you can see the target behind, and then the actual is in front, and then actual will be we build a database towards the end of the year. We're gonna see how it's sort of populates over time as we are going. Okay, so the target is 1,000, actual is this value. So I can change it right away. Let me just change it right away. Near miss recorded, because we are actually almost done, but I think that we are going to use 2 hours for this. So this kind of tutorial is not for everyone. It's basically for those who want to do it themselves. Okay, so we understand that sometimes this type of live stream is so long, because we are doing customization. It's not like we are just introducing a template and showing you how to use. Okay, so leading indicators, everything is in there, right? So hazard reported, near miss recorded, inspection audit conducted. So I'll just open the pivot field list. Okay, so pivot field list, inspection reported, inspection conducted, right? Inspection stroke audit conducted, and then target of inspection stroke audit conducted, and I put the target above it. I change it from count to sum of. Okay, and then I do inspection. I put in the title, like inspection stroke audit conducted. All right, so that is it right there. We're gonna fix it later on to make everything look nice. Okay, so we go on to the next, which is planned tax observation. That is the target. Okay, we change it from count to sum of, and I hope that there's no decimal showing. There's a decimal. We need to make sure that we remove the decimal. So just go to format and change the number format to no decimal, and then we come up and we select the inspection target, right? It's right in there. Okay, we move on. So the target must be above it. So we bring this one back down. Okay, we do the same thing for, okay, let's make sure that we change the name. Planned task observation. All right, and then we move on to the last one. So this is the last one. So that means that this type of job, you can actually do it within just, allocate just 1 day to complete it, right? Okay, so I'm just going to make sure that the decimal is not, there's 0 decimal. That's for target, and I come to actual for inspections. All right, so that's for inspections. All right, so now that we are done with it, okay, so all of this stuff is basically based on calculation. Okay, we're gonna check to make sure that everything is correct. Okay, so let's just go back. We're getting a hash ref error here, so try to find out what's going on. Okay, so we're getting the reference from average number of staff, so we're gonna fix it, right? So this is coming from average number of staff. Okay, so let's try to go in to make sure that everything is correct. So we go to indicators for objectives. We try to find out where is the issue. All right, so over here we have basically average number of staff is here, but we change the name, right? We change the name from average number of staff to total personnel, right? So we're gonna find total personnel for all of them. Number of personnel combined. So we have number of personnel combined. this is what we use to pull the reports, right? So if I come here, I'll just input number of personnel. It's gonna give me the figure, right? But it's supposed to be average. So this is summing up all the entries in the template, but we cannot do that. So we need to make sure that we are striking an average of it, or else it's gonna give us wrong value. Okay, so we have 174 number of personnel. So this is what I'm gonna be using. I just use this to pull the figure. All right, and then that figure is gonna now show on some of the reports. Okay, so we can hide this now. Okay, so let's go and check again. So actual, we're gonna be shifting things around later on. Monthly, we've sort of number of workers. So the number of workers is coming from month report indicators. So let's look for month report indicators. Month report indicators, and then we click on it and we bring in number of personnel, right? So we are doing combine, right? So number of personnel, we bring it in here, and that's a sum, but it's supposed to be average, not supposed to be sum. It's supposed to be average. So I'm going to change it to average, and then I come to month report and I hit the equal sign and I select average. So it's showing in decimal. I have to make sure that it's not showing in decimal. So I just go back and then I will change the average. Okay, I selected man hours rather. It's supposed to be personnel. I rather selected the wrong one. So I'm supposed to select number of workers combined, right? And it's supposed to be average. So that's 174. So if I come here, I hit the enter, I go in there to select 174. So that has been solved. Man days worked. So man days worked is coming from month report indicator. So I'm supposed to also add man days worked. So that's combined, man days worked combined, right? So man days worked combined. So this report is basically what we have pre-built. We are replicating same, but we can actually change it as per the need. All right. So man days work combined is here. So whatever is here, we've been able to fix it. All right. So we just remove anything that is not appropriate. Initially, it was here as observation, participation, and we're tracking percentage. But now we've changed it to inspections. I just have to get rid of, the percentage in here. So we are also tracking man hours worked, right? So I just have to make sure that we are bringing in man hours worked. So man hours worked combined, right? So I come in here and then I'll hit equal sign to capture man hours worked. Okay, so I think that we are done with monthly reports. You can hide this one. The statistics, we are done. Now the trend charts, we are almost coming, right? So take note that the report, basically, we need to select to see everything here. We have the lagging indicators, just 5 of them. And then we need to make sure that we are fixing this very line. So this very trend that we use to see for all the KPIs, they are actually on this very sheet. So we need to unhide this and go to target KPI trend, right? KPI trend. So we come here, we open the pivot field. Okay, we just click on this, go to field list, and then we can see all the KPIs. So we want to make sure you're focused on the leading indicators. So hazard report, near miss report, inspection, just 5 of them, right? So we just have to go back to our trend dashboard, and then we can select. So when you select the KPI, inspection, now inspection will show, right? So that's pretty much what is here. We can now hide this one. So this one is now showing, right? So the trend is now showing. All we need to do is just change the colors. So I just right click this, go to format data, bring the numbers outside. We can now change the format of the gradient, the fill, right? It's a gradient fill, and we can give it a unique color. So let's try to change the color of the fill, and maybe we can, it used to be there as this color, right? So let's say we are maintaining the same color. So it's gonna be this, and probably orange or something. Okay, so I think that I just have to remember which color it was, but take note that the color for the color is something you can always change. But let's do things differently, right? Let's do things differently. So let's change it. Let's make it gray. So it's going to be a solid fill. We're going to choose gray. So we can do the same thing for this. Control C, Control V. All right. So these stuff that are outside, we need to make them dark. So we're gonna give it a white font color. So I think I'm changing the look of this. We will probably make this one equally white to bolden it a little bit. And all of these stuff, we can change them. The border of the various cells, we can change them to white. And then we can now just make them like this. All right, so I think that time is not on our side. We are still a little bit behind because now we are into a couple of time into the whole session. So let's keep going. Okay, so number of workers is coming from average number of workers. I think that indicators for objectives. So I'll just quickly do that. We keep on hiding, right? Indicators for objectives. So I just have to add number of workers. Number of workers is already here. Okay. So one is this, one is that. Okay. So what am I going to do? I'll just quickly hit the equal sign. Where's the trend? So number of workers, I hit the equal sign. I come to indicators for objectives and I select number of workers. Man hours worked is coming from indicator for objectives, man hours worked. Man hours worked. Okay, so we didn't bring man hours worked. So let's do that right away. Man hours worked. So that's the combine, right? Man hours worked combined. Okay, so quickly we go in there. Equal sign. Man hours worked combined. Number of vehicles. So we don't have number of vehicles. We don't have, these stuff. We got rid of them. So we need to replace with something. So let's see what we can replace it with, right? Because they have their, what they are tracking. So LTI, lost time injury frequency rate, total recordable injury frequency rate, lost LTI 3 days, and LTI 3 man hours worked. So that's man hours worked without LTI. So man hours worked without LTI will be here. So man hours worked without LTI. So what we are doing is that we are just trying to, basically take the lead on man hours worked without LTI. We are taking the lead on what they can possibly track, and then based on feedback, we can actually further customize for them. Okay. So man hours worked without LTI. The space is not big enough, but you can just do something a little to expand it, or we could just, abbreviate it. Man hours worked without, that's YW/O, right? Without LTI. Just to keep it simple, because you can't go there. The space in there is very, very small. Without LTI. So we hit the equal sign. We come to indicators for objectives, and we have man hours worked without LTI. Man hours worked without LTI. That's this one. Okay, and then LTI 3 days. So we're gonna estimate LTI 3 days. All right. So there's a formula to that. We can do that. Basically, we are looking at the days without the LTI 3 days is once an incident happens, and subsequently we want to make sure that we are not, accounting for any. We are not recording any incident. So all the days after an LTI are going to be registered as LTI 3 days. The moment you register an LTI, the LTI free days stop counting and you need to start all over again, right? So how do we do that? We go into the actual source data. We're going to introduce a helper column to identify the date when LTI happens, the date when LTI happens, right? So date when LTI occurs. So that's something, date, this is just a helper column, so we can give it any name, date when LTI occurs. Date, okay, let's say date of LTI. So the date of LTI, what we're going to do is that every time there's an LTI, it should tell us the date. If the entry for LTI is greater than 0, it should tell us what is here, the date here, right? So let's remember the reference, right? The LTI is on R3. If R3 is greater than 0, it should give us this date, right? B3, R3, if R3 is greater than 0. So we're going to use an if function. So if R3 is greater than 0, it should give us B3. If not, it should just give us blank. Okay, that's pretty much it. Okay, so basically that's what we've done. So now Excel gives us the date in value, so we just have to convert it to date. So we just change everything to date, right? Right click, format, we go to date function, we choose a date, right? We can choose a date like this, maybe this one. So basically what we have in here is that every time we register an LTI, it's going to tell us the date the LTI happened. Okay, and then we need to sort of identify the maximum date, which is the current date of the LTI. So which one will be the maximum? I'll just put a function in here, if basically equal to max, so max of the entry. So we're looking at BD. Okay, we can select everything, we go all the way down. All right, so basically we have the current dates, which is the dates here. I'll just convert this one as well to dates. So I'll just pick the format and click on it. So the latest LTI registered is this very date, right? So that's pretty much it, but I need to really find a way of recording it for each of the sites, right? Okay, so that's something I'm going to be looking at later on, because each of the sites could register an LTI and shouldn't apply to the other. Or the fact is that if you filter by this, you're going to get a figure for this, so it's going to change by default. If you apply a filter, you only get a report for this. And okay, so let's see how it goes. Okay, so basically we have the last LTI dates. How do we know the LTI free days? So that means we need to introduce a formula, right? LTI free days will be today's date minus the last day, right? So today's date is basically today function. That is today minus the last LTI, right? That's this one. So it's gonna be where's today? All right, so it's gonna be today minus this day, and that gives us the last LTI free days. Also basically the LTI free days. So if we record the latest incident, maybe we recorded another LTI on another day, like December, there was another LTI. It's gonna tell us that the last LTI was December, and so as per today's date, the LTI free days is this one. But I just have to figure out how I'm gonna, make sure that we are tracking for each of the sites. So I'll try to do that. I'll figure it out later on. But then the first analogy, we've been able to do that. So the first analogy is that whenever we register an incident, so maybe I'm going to be using what function will I use? Is it if it's not an if function, right? Some if. Here's some if. Some if. No, not some if. Count if. Ah man. Okay. So I need to use a count if first. Count if. Count if. Right? I need to use a count if first before I count if. So count if. So it's gonna be like a count if. So a unique. I have to give it a name. So that's basically the whole thing. I need to find a name for it. These helper columns, it's not really a big deal to give it any name at all. I just call it helper, right? Another helper column. So you should count if this, let's see. Maybe you said. Oh, that's okay. So basically, I'm trying to figure out how I could pull the count if R3 is greater than 1, greater than 0, it should return. It should count if is greater than count if A3. Okay, so there's a way around it. I need to do something. I need to lock some part of it. I need to lock this rather. I need to lock this one. I need to lock this one. I need to lock the 3, not the. I need to lock this one as well. Okay, so I'll try to figure out later on, but I don't want to waste too much time. So the first part of it, we've sorted it out, we've estimated this, but later I'm going to make sure that I clarify how to pull that. I can do that. I just forgot, right? Because we're all human beings. We can forget sometimes, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. So pretty much what we're going to do is that I'm just going to keep on to, I'm going to make sure I fix this thing right here, right? So I think that we've spent a lot of time already. All right. Let me just share my screen right now. All right, so basically, we've spent a lot of time already. The last bit of it is not all. I still have to keep going to make sure that I fixed various other reports. All right, so this is just for your info how we were able to, basically adapt the template. We were able to change the structure of the template. We did it for both leading and lagging indicators. We changed the monthly reports. We changed some of the, and basically some of the reports, right? We started working on it. So this is not a job that we usually finish within just 2 hours, right? So it's going to take some time. I just have to keep, focused on it to, finalize once and for all. But then I believe that you got the whole insight of how we're doing it. All right. So guys, that's pretty much it. I hope that you guys found this insightful, but just bear in mind that we don't use 2 hours to do customization. I'm just challenging myself to make sure that I finish this thing. So we have to apply a lot of, basically it's a mental exercise to match one cell to the other and a whole bunch of stuff, right? All right, so we're gonna bring it to an end. But before that, let me just recognize all those who engage with us. So we have basically Isaac engaging with us. So thanks for actually passing by. All right, and then also you mentioned that we can send it to you, right? So this is actually, somebody's work that we are doing. So you can just visit our website, right? We have a lot of free templates. Just visit our website on our website. You can actually find it on where exactly I put a link somewhere, right? Maybe I deleted it, right? So you can always visit our website on www.shexel.com. Okay, www.shexel.com. We have a lot of free templates. We have about 20 free templates. Just download them and then keep exploring. Okay. So thank you all for your attention. I'm going to see you guys in another video tomorrow. All right. I have work to do. All right. So thanks all and have a great evening. Speak again soon. Bye.